kidding me, guy? Are you fucking kidding me?
Somebody might die tonight. We're living the party life. Somebody might die tonight. We're living the party life.
Are you kidding me, guy? Oh my god. That song gets me going every time. That's Heat Club with Dangerous. The only music I can play on the podcast without getting sued. They're great for letting me use their music. I don't think they've heard the podcast. I think if they heard the podcast, they'd be like, no, that can't be on that platform. We can't be associated with that. But thank God they haven't. You know, thank God people lie and they say, hey, I listened to the podcast. Great stuff. And then you ask them a question about it and they're like, I thought you just talked about Barbie. So I'm really grateful that I can use their music without them knowing. And I'm really grateful that I got a guest on the podcast. I think you guys are grateful too. I got a comment the other day. Hey, your podcast is better when you have guests. All right, I get it. I'm bad at ranting for half an hour. Thank you, Mom. But don't be worried because we got a guest today, and it's not my imaginary friend. It's not even a friend. It's a coworker of mine in the comedy world. Give it up for Mean Dave. Give it up.
Friends? What are you talking about? Friends? You know?
We're friends. I don't know what the definition of a friend. Sometimes I think of a friend as someone I see a lot. We can go months without seeing each other because the comedy network is big. There's a lot of shows, you know. But yeah, I consider you a friend if you accept me.
Yeah, friend in the comedy world. No.
Yeah, you know. I might not be a good friend to hang out with at an AA meeting, but yeah, comedy show where we're doing the same thing. And...
I'm not a good one to drink with. So there you go, man.
Oh yeah.
Get high.
Yeah. Touche, my friend. But yeah, I wanted to have you on because you are a movie lover like myself.
Yes.
And I don't think I can get enough about talking about movies. And I love the background. That's one of my favorite movies. I got to watch it in part.
Everybody's favorite movie. Or it's one of the reasons why I picked it. I'm a big fan of the Rewatchables podcast. If you've ever heard that one.
I only listen to mine.
You should check it out if you love movies, because I only found it through the pandemic, as a lot of things. But
right.
It's Bill Simmons, who's like mostly known for sports. He's a sport.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One of his many, he has like a billion podcasts, and one of his popular ones is the Rewatchables, and all they talk about are movies that are highly rewatchable.
Okay.
So it's like they're a number one movie. They've had like 3 or 4 podcasts about is this motherfucker Heat. That one, and they've even had Michael Mann on the podcast when they
that's sick.
it. Yeah.
I just got into his older stuff like Manhunter.
Yeah, Manhunter's great.
Well, and I watched that Thief with Michael Caine.
Mm-hmm. No, not Michael.
Or no.
Or what's his name? Fucking Sonny. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. James Caan. James Caan.
Yeah, James Caan.
Michael Caine, I was thinking about the one where his brother dies and he's got to go back to deal with the funeral and stuff. Get Carter. Did you ever see that? No, you got to see that. That's a classic action 70s.
They remade that shit, but
with Stallone, it wasn't as good. As good.
No, I think I saw the remake, but I never saw the
Stallone's good when he plays a punch drunk guy. You know.
Yeah. Stallone's is one of those weird actors because he does well when he writes his own shit.
Right.
And you put him in another. He's one of those actors where it's like I don't know how well he's acted in. Like I enjoy watching him in Guardians of the Galaxy because it's the most random fucking casting I've ever seen with that James Gunn likes working with him.
That was I like James Gunn because he's great cinematographer. Can really turn a comic book into a movie, in my opinion. I'm a fan of the Justice League. But and he did Watchmen too, right?
No.
Who did that?
That's Zack Snyder.
Okay, they're similar guys for some reason. And he was Justice League Zack Snyder. I'm acting like I'm on the Rewatchables, but
James
I
Gunn
get those confused. Bill Simmons probably doesn't smoke weed like me.
James Gunn's mostly what's funny about him was he was I would have never have guessed he would have gone into comic book movies because I've followed him somewhat since one of his earlier movies, Slither. It's
Oh
a
God, that was a
comedy horror
creepy one
film.
with Adrian Brody.
I don't know if is he in that. I don't. I know that Nathan Fillion's in it,
Oh, I like him. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Michael, one of his favorite people, guy played the Blueface motherfucker. And he's also kind
Oh
of a
yes.
portrait of a serial killer, Michael whatever is Michael Rooker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's great.
And what's her name's in it too, who's really popular, Elizabeth Banks.
Oh, beautiful.
And Slither. What's funny about that movie is I learned about it, and I forget if there was another movie that he made. But what happened was I learned all about James Gunn from that movie because at the time that it came out, I think I was testing DVDs. I used to be I was a video game tester for many years, and for 2.5 of those years, I was a DVD tester where I worked just watching movies on the PlayStation 2.
You look like a guy that worked at Blockbuster or like Tower Records.
I did work at Tower
Yeah.
for like less than a year. But I wasn't, but no, I was actually, what's funny about working at Tower though, I was an employee that was a good employee. Most of the Tower employees were like, they thought it was cooler to be like a shitty employee, like to be rude to customers and shit. I'm like, they're the only reason we're here, motherfucker.
Well,
Like,
it's a lot of kids. It's a lot of teenagers and young
kids. No, they were just shitty employees. They moved. Actually, a movie was out at that time, Empire Records. That was what they were kind of modeling themselves after. And I would say I'm like none of the characters in that fucking movie.
But I could see you in another record movie, High Fidelity. I could see you as a
No, I ain't no Jack Black motherfucker. I ain't no. It's probably the closest person, and I don't agree with this, but when I was in high school, Dazed and Confused was out, and because I was a known stoner and drug user, there were people that tried to act like I was. I reminded them of Slater, which was Rory Cochran's character. He's the stoner, long hair guy, and in Dazed and Confused. But I wasn't like, yeah, man, whatever. I wasn't one of those motherfuckers either. Mm-hmm. I smoked weed and shit, and I might have. We both didn't get laid. That's what we had in common. So more than that, we had dark skin and long hair, but that was about it.
And here we are talking James Gunn. Yeah, he
did. So James Gunn made Slither. He made Slither, but he goes back to Trauma Films. If you know Trauma Films, that's like Toxic Avenger.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so he made Tromeo and Juliet, which was like one of their movies back then. So he's from this world of schlock, goofy movies, and then he got into making better movies that were like in horror and stuff. And little by little, he ended up accumulating his credits, and then I forget, like he made Super, which I think was the movie that got him the gig for Guardians of the Galaxy, which was the strangest thing was that those characters were like the least known. It was a series made for kids, really, out of the Marvel like the Marvel world, and no one expected that to do well. And that motherfucker ends up making like the best MCU trilogy out of those. So.
Yeah, I need to check out Super. I haven't checked that out, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I mean, probably the darkest out of the three movies.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
And I like that the theme of it was different. I like that my son got scared a little bit.
Good. Yeah.
And the raccoon stuff was pretty upsetting, but I kind of like movies that get you invested emotionally.
That's the point. Yeah. They were CG animals. There were some people, were trying to make a fucking thing about like, the fact that they were, doing hideous things to animals. I'm like, yeah, because they're evil. They were evil. They're evil motherfuckers. And that's where Rocket Raccoon came from, was from people that were experimenting on shit, because that's what evil motherfuckers do.
Right.
You know who else did evil shit to animals in the real world? Serial killers. Like that's like one of the earliest signs of serial killing is that they fucking they're sociopathic and they don't feel what they do to other living creatures. So they, so anyways, but Yeah, no, I loved how. I mean, that movie actually. It's funny. It's the first CG movie that actually makes me tear up because
Yeah.
Rocky's story is so fucking heartbreaking. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
I don't know why anything with kids and animals kind of fucks me up. An adult getting tortured, I don't care.
that's well, see, that's where society's conditioned us to be sociopaths. I don't know about that.
Yeah, this goes show you I hate people,
Mhm.
adults. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's probably maybe my second favorite out of the series.
Mhm.
I don't think it's my favorite though. The first one's pretty fucking good.
They're all good. I don't really. I don't get too fucking caught up into this, that, and the other of the. What's my favorite? I like them all. I mean, there's definitely like Marvel movies I enjoy more than others, but
So something I read about that series is fucking Vin Diesel
mhm.
plays Groot.
Yeah,
He's got one line, "I am Groot." I think
in
he
various
does say
ways,
something else, right? Doesn't he
a
say
lot of
something else?
ways. But he says in a lot of ways because he's speaking, he's acting through I am Groot.
So
Right?
I read Vin Diesel got paid 13 million per movie.
Good for him, man. Way to cash a check, man. Fucking, it's more cream he can put on his head. You know,
Right, 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 right. He still doesn't have hair, which probably pisses him
yeah,
off.
I'm saying that poor
But
beat down by the
speaking
sun.
speaking of him, I don't know if you're a fan of him or not. Did you watch the new Fast and the Furious?
I did not because I like those movies though. I'm not a fan of Vin Diesel by any stretch of imagination. I'll put it this way: Vin Diesel was a good actor, and I'm not saying he's a bad actor per se now, but what he became was a blockbuster actor.
Hmm.
And there was a time where his acting kind of took precedence. He was good in Boiler Room, his early movies.
Oh, Triple X was pretty fucking good.
Well, Triple X
No?
was the beginning of this Vin Diesel persona
Yeah.
that he's done. And I want to say like because he's done some good acting in his younger years, and then and the thing is he then kind of I don't know what it is, he became like a modern day Stallone
Yeah.
where he wanted only he didn't write any of his own shit, but he wanted to be in these franchise movies that are built around him.
Yeah.
And you know,
He took the route. Some actors stay indie and they might do one blockbuster or two, and then kind of pick scripts of what is like might be a good movie or not. Stuff they're interested in. He just like you say. I think he just wants the
he
fame and the
came in
fortune.
he came in making some interesting choices as an actor, but then
He did. Did you see that one movie? I think it was after Boiler Room, where like I think he's a wise guy and he has to
yeah, I
fly
didn't
to
see
like.
that. Guilty. It's like Find Me Guilty or something like that. I remember there was he played like an old wise guy. He was in like heavy
Yeah.
makeup, and I have not seen that, but that's one of the movies where I think it people gave him credit for it, but it didn't do well. He's big on doing well at the box office. That's
Right.
kind of what his thing is. I mean, Chronicles of Riddick or whatever, isn't that's one of
Oh,
his.
those were okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He keeps aiming for these box office fuckers where someone like me, I don't like movies that are like purposefully stupid. And even when they're like action nerds or whatever. I saw
Uh,
Triple X at my friend's house and I was like, this movie feels like a tribal tattoo.
yeah, yeah, I
So
could see
but
that.
that's what he's going for. And Chronicles of Riddick is a sci-fi version of that shit. And I forget what it's like. That's all.
Pitch Black, I will say, was way better than Riddick. Like,
That's what that part is, right? Riddick came from Pitch Black.
yeah, yeah, but
That's right.
I thought Riddick was but Pitch Black was a good
It was all
scary
part of that
movie.
shit, yeah. And it was
You
part
know,
of something that they spun off. And then, but Fast and the Furious, again, that's one of those series. It became a phenomenon that like I had to see the early ones because I was testing them. So I saw them and they weren't bad. They're not for me. I'm not into car shit unless it's like real cars. And there was a time when it was a lot more real stunt work. And they do push the envelope of trying to.
are you there? You froze, Dave. Oh my God, no. How's my internet? Oh, I can't believe we froze.
See Fast X, so we
Are
saw
you
Fast X, and it's a good time.
are you there? You
Yeah, I'm
froze.
there. I might have froze up. So
Yeah, you froze up.
we
You were
saw
just
Fast X. That's what I'm saying. So we saw Fast X, and I knew she was going to pick it. So
yeah, I couldn't believe the end. Which if you haven't seen it, fast forward.
two-parter. That's why, man. And I forgot. I read it in the thing, but yeah, no. The end. There's a lot of these movies right now, and they're where they're two-parters, and you don't find out till the end of the movie.
Yeah, I kind of felt ripped off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I totally did.
And it's like they could have ended it. Like I don't need a huge. So now, but now they're bringing The Rock because he's got to be in the final one,
Mm-hmm.
and he's another guy like Vin Diesel, where I thought he was better in the early work,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got into steroids and
I agree.
just
What do you
you
mean?
know.
I don't know. He's always been in steroids, wrestling probably.
Well,
So.
if you look back at him and Sean William Scott and that what's that movie?
The rundown.
He's smaller. But as he goes, I mean, veins are popping out. I mean, it's
Yeah,
gotten
I don't
worse.
know. He looked the same. I mean, he's always been a big dude. I mean, from wrestling. So,
What is your favorite Rock movie?
it would probably be Southland Tales.
Oh, I
Which
haven't
is
seen that.
no, it's the second movie by Donnie Darko, guy who made Donnie Darko, Richard Kelly,
Uh-huh.
and he kind of ended up in movie like he ended up kind of in obscurity. He made Donnie Darko, which was a huge cult hit.
Right.
Um, and then which was not it was people didn't even know about it till it was on DVD and VHS or whatever. Came a hit at home, a cult hit, and
Right.
a lot of people liked it. And then he had this follow-up movie called Southland Tales. It was based on comic books that were it was very satiric about our culture, taking place in the future, nuclear weapons, politics, humor. Um, you adapting this comic book, and I heard a lot about it. It's got a star-studded cast, and The Rock is one of them. He's the main character in it.
Yeah.
However, this dude ended up, I guess, pissing off everybody on his cast and the director, and so much so that the staff or the cast refused to promote the movie.
Yeah.
And I love the movie, even though I think I can tell it's kind of a mess. It's a movie that like the guy he that's kind of where he did with Donnie Darko. He wrote himself into a hole, and then he created this whole plane engine going through a space fucking time continuum to get
Right.
him out of it. Well, Southland Tales is even more of a fucking mind fuck of a story of a plot.
So if you get stoned, folks, do
Oh,
that
good
before that
luck.
movie.
Good luck. I mean, I watch it sober and I still have trouble with it. But there's a lot of. But if you love movies, he's got a lot thrown in there from science fiction, Lynch, Philip K. Dick. He's got a lot of different influences that he's throwing into this movie, and it's very funny. He's got a lot of comedic people in it playing against type. Like he's got John Lovitz playing this like cold as ice fucking this cop, and then they got a lot of other comedic actors in it, doing some interesting stuff. So and some dramatic actors too. Stifler's in it. Actually, it's funny. They got The Rock and Sean William Scott from The Rundown. They got them, both of them, in this movie, and it was if you watch it, it's a fun confusing movie. So have fun with it. I get the plot now, but I don't even want to bother explaining it because it's like, go watch it, see if you can figure it out.
I'm glad you told me that because I do sometimes hate getting stoned and then watching a movie like a Inception or something, and I'm like, wait, I don't get what's going on
If I'm
here.
in good hands, if I enjoy the experience, I don't mind being confused.
Yeah.
But like, it's funny that you say Inception because I love Christopher Nolan movies and I love his puzzles. Inception took me a few watches though, because there were like, oddly enough, the first 3 times I watched Inception, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it at home. I kept falling asleep.
Right.
And I wrote a joke about how I kept falling asleep watching
That one, what's the one he did with Time? That one confused the hell out of me. I still got to rewatch
the
that
time.
with Denzel Washington's kid. Um,
Oh, Tenet. That's the one
Tenet.
before this one. That's not that long ago, man. That one's
No, I know, but that one was confusing.
oh, it is, but it's I mean, I actually that one with all of his puzzle kind of framework in it. I understood that movie pretty much the first watch, even though I saw it a few times. I saw it in the theater actually, because that was that was the only movie that came out during the pandemic. So
Oh wow,
because
wow.
all the movie theaters were shut down, and then a few of them were opening up
Hmm.
when they were trying to relax COVID restrictions, and that movie came out in theaters and ended up it did terribly, not because of its own. I mean, I actually was saying after the success of Oppenheimer, they should re-release Tenet in theaters, like because just to kind of like give it
Yeah.
another chance to audiences after they're like, they're
His
finding
movie,
Oppenheimer.
his movies are best watched in theaters.
Yeah,
I'm showing my kid, which is this is one of the fun things about having a kid is you could show him movies, great movies, and talk to him about it. And
yeah.
we're doing The Dark Knight,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, those are
and I forgot how great those are. But really, I don't have a sound system. You really need a fucking sound system
yeah,
for
you
those
can
movies.
enjoy. I think a good story. That's the thing. A lot of people get into all the weeds of all that shit. Those are fun. If you want that, you go to the theater. That's why you go to the theater. Obviously, though, you can't. I mean, those movies are older movies. They're not going to be playing in theaters regularly.
Did you see Oppenheimer?
Yeah, I've seen it 4 times. Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet. Did
I'll
you
go see it a
see
fifth
it?
too.
He released it in a couple different versions, right?
No, I mean he released it. Not. I don't know about different edits, but I know that they're in different film stocks. There's
Yeah, that's what I
there's
meant.
regular,
Like,
yeah, you can see it in IMAX, you can see it in 77 millimeter or 70
right.
millimeter, which he recommends, but there's 70 millimeters is basically seeing it in the film stock that similar to if you went to the Hateful Eight screening back in 2016 when Hateful Eight got released. They did the road show, the 70 millimeter road show run of it, where you got to see it in 70 millimeter. And the cool thing about seeing it in those in 70 millimeter, because he has it in black and white and in color throughout the movie, like it trades
Yeah.
off. And I just saw a movie that was a digital, or it was digitally screened because it was in a digital theater, but it was an older movie that I forget how old it was Lord of the Rings. I saw Return of the King. They did a screening of it at the Cinemark near where I live, and I snuck into movies all day. So I was like, oh, I want to get into the fucking Lord of the Rings at the end. So I snuck into movies literally all day. I was there from like 11 a.m. till fucking 11:30 at night, and um, I went and what was strange was watching this movie that I forgot was shot on film, because you can tell, and
Right.
you can
Right.
see it in the graininess and so when you see something in 70 millimeter, you're seeing it in film. You're seeing it shot with the frames per second, and I believe there's a subconscious difference. But I'm not that. I care. Like I like seeing a movie that looks like it's a film movie, but I'll go see a movie shot digitally. I'm not that taken out of the movie because it looks too clean or something. So
Yeah. Yeah. But
story,
there
I
is something
care
about
about
that
the story.
graininess. It almost brings a little more real to it.
Yeah, no, and there's the color and all that shit. I get why motherfuckers are way into film. And Tarantino actually, because he was talking on this Rewatchables podcast, he was a guest on there. They did 3 movies together, recording episodes, and when they were talking about, they mentioned like um, why a lot of even esteemed cinematographers go digitally versus film. He goes, I know why. And he's like, why? He goes, they don't have to set up lights. Like the whole reason that a lot of cinematographers, even damn good ones who know their shit with film, it is you have to work a whole lot harder to get the lighting right to line up a shot, and that takes more
Right.
time. It takes more, money and staff and all that. Whereas digitally, a lot you can do so much more. You have a lot more freedom, and you don't need as much light all around. So
You know, doesn't all Tarantino movies come film? Because I feel like
yeah,
I saw,
he only does film.
yeah, because I remember seeing that double feature. When did that come out? Oh
Grindhouse.
nine.
That was Grindhouse was 2007.
I remember seeing that, and that was a game changer. Not
Right?
really.
Well, it
It was a
was because
tribute. It was a tribute to the past, but it was like,
it bombed too. That's what the game changer
oh,
was.
really? Because I thought it
Dude,
was
that shit
amazing.
scared Tarantino, man. That's the funniest. Like, I loved it. I loved.
Yeah, I
I'm with
thought
you,
it was.
man.
I thought it was great.
Oh no, anybody. The thing that it's funny that you bring that movie up because I find that to be like one of the. It was one of those times where I hate movie audiences, and they've done this a couple of times or a few more than a couple times, where and I agree it might have been in the marketing of it. There's a lot behind that movie, but Grindhouse basically was what should have been a slam dunk because you have two filmmakers in their prime,
Right.
Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, working together to make two appear like basically paying homage to all the low budget schlock cinema of the past and their influences and all that, and good movies too. Like they're into like John Carpenter and all that shit, but they were paying homage to all of it. You're getting two movies for
Right.
the price of one. Two movies, right?
Right.
The fact that motherfuckers couldn't understand that Grindhouse wasn't one film that you're going to see called Grindhouse. It is an experience that you're going to see two fucking movies by two top-notch directors.
Right.
You don't even have to see both of them. You could watch Planet Terror and bounce, or you could show up late, still buy a ticket and go see Death Proof, or you could see both like I did fucking most of the time. And I love Death Proof more, which like over
Right. Me too.
rewatching it, but I loved them both. And then they had the trailers and the whole thing. It was fucking
The
great.
thing, the thing about
And
that thing about that Planet Terror
Planet
is
Terror, yeah, that was Rodriguez's one.
right. I think because Quentin has talked about writing a Star Trek, that would
He's
be
not
like a
gonna do
rated
it.
R
Yeah,
version.
yeah, he's not going to do it, but he wanted to. Yeah,
But just seeing that movie, maybe have Rodriguez direct it, it'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
it would be. I mean, he did a Predators, so he knows
Oh,
how to
he
do
did,
stuff.
and you know what? He did Spy Kids too.
Yeah, he did all the Spy Kids movies, Shark Boy and Lava Girl or whatever.
Oh, really? He did
He's
that
big on
too?
making. Yeah, you know what he made that a lot of people forget about was Alita. Am I still there? You're freezing, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're good.
This might be fucked up. Hang on.
No, you're good. I'm moving.
Okay, weird. Because your face
Yeah, I'm
froze
not-
on mine. So yeah, I have terrible Wi-Fi sometimes here. This fucking wonderful palace I live in. He made Alita, the Battle Angel,
Hmm.
which I saw it. It did okay. It made
Isn't
its
that a
money back.
cartoon? Isn't that a cartoon?
It's not a cartoon. No, it's a live action movie, but it has a face that's digitally altered and that's animated. But the whole like everything else is, and there's a lot of digital in the world. But
Yeah.
it's an action movie. It's a movie that James Cameron wanted to make.
Oh,
Oddly
shit.
enough, it's based on a manga, Japanese manga or whatever.
Yeah,
I haven't read it or anything. But he made the choice that it was either he was going to do Avatar or Alita Battle Angel, and he went with Avatar. But he still wanted Battle Angel made, and Robert Rodriguez is the one who ended up directing it. And Cameron produced it, and he loves the story so much that even though it wasn't a hit. It just did enough. It did well enough to like okay, it made its money back and then some. It was not a blockbuster by any means. They're still going to make the sequel because it's a bad cliffhanger, and that like not bad, but like it's a cliffhanger. Like it gets to a point just like this one. I didn't know it was a two-parter, and I'm like, God damn it, man! There's more to this fucking story. So
Right.
and but yeah, so but the funny thing about Grindhouse, yeah, that movie bombed big time.
Wow, I
And
didn't
no
know
one knows why. No one could point to why. But here's the thing: the rumor was that a lot of the promotion was kind of hindered because if you look back in time, one of the main actors in it was what's her name, Rose McGowan, who we know now, who championed a lot of the Me Too movement because she was raped by Harvey Weinstein, and that her relationship with Weinstein and that or lack of,
and probably was raped by Marilyn Manson too.
yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole other bag of apples. We don't know fucking go into that. But no, Rose McGowan, based on they had such a awkward relationship. Weinstein wanted her to not even be involved in Grindhouse, and they put her both in both movies, mind you. So, and not only that, but Rodriguez ends up in a relationship with her. So the rumor was that he wasn't that Weinstein was kind of purposefully tanking some of the promotion to hurt the film. That was some of the rumor, but I don't know.
He got jealous. She started fucking someone else.
The thing is I don't even know. I knew about the movie. I'm a fan of both guys. I think there were fans too that were out there, but the trouble was your average everyday moviegoer
exactly
wasn't as well informed. Like they didn't know exactly what was going on with Grindhouse.
And they brought the families, and they were all concerned.
There were people that brought kids. That was the other thing, man. Even though, it wasn't a hit, but motherfuckers tried to bring their kids. So.
Well, it's like if they knew it was kind of I don't want to say indie, but kind of, what it was. There's a lot of people in America we forget about that want to see those dumb movies.
Hang on, let me time out. I'm going to switch. I have this other with the internet. I'm going to try and see if this works better. Hang on just a second.
Okay. Technical difficulties, folks.
Let me see if this works better. It's just they have two internets here, and sometimes the other one works better.
So, you have a lot of people that want to see dumb movies, and I bet you a lot of people that win like, oh my God, Alfred, and there's blood, and you can't just go into one of those movies and not know what you're getting yourself into. If you don't like my wife isn't a fan of those movies. I know people that aren't, I took my wife. My wife is very. I should be quiet. She's very sensitive when it comes to movies, like horror movies, especially like bloody ones. I took her to go see Us because we liked the Get Out.
Get Out,
And so I take her, and she hates horror movies. And if you know that movie, it's a fucking horror movie. And
Nope, that was a fairly bloodless horror film.
And then in the during the movie, she goes, "I want to leave." I mean, she's like loud about it. And then afterwards, I made her stand there. And then afterwards, she's like, "I'm never going to the movies." Like in front of people, like that was gross. And I loved it,
Yeah, I liked it too, except for the ending. I didn't like his M. Night Shyamalan explanation of everything. I thought the movie would have been better if they just kind of didn't explain what was going on and just let it kind of be felt.
Kind of like Stephen King.
Yeah, in a way. Or I mean, it's just I thought because Jordan Peele, I think, is a hell of a filmmaker, but he got kind of cursed by his own success of Get Out, where again it was like, yeah, he brought all these people to the movie, but the thing was Us confused people anyway, and I liked it. That was one of those examples where I was like, dude, he's fucking nailing it with this movie. And then when it got closer and closer to the end, I'm like, oh no, he's gonna fucking explain everything that's going on. Like there's a reason, like what exactly is happening. I'm like, I don't need to know that. Enough of the movie has happened the way that it's happened that it almost felt like if you would have just ended it with no explanation, that would have been a brilliant movie.
Or like you leave an explanation with like a little clue, like a lab coat or something. You know what I mean?
Little clue, like, is it like this? Is it
right?
Ambiguity of the movie was what I loved about it, and then he went ahead and had to fucking, well, these are the nuts and bolts of what happened. I don't need that shit. So I hated the way it ended.
I love that it was in Santa Cruz. That was cool.
But that was just one of those things because he did it and Get Out, and that's again, I was like, oh great, he's gonna be another M. Night Shyamalan, where because that was the big hit, now he's gonna like mirror that hit in every movie.
So I liked Nope.
Yeah, I like Nope.
I like better than Us.
I thought again, like I don't really know what I would like, but I don't really watch. I'll put it this way: I don't rewatch Get Out. I don't really rewatch Us.
Yeah.
Watch No.
Yeah.
Some watch more often, but his movies are kind of like tend to be a little more one and done with me. I don't really rewatch them a whole lot, which is strange.
I like Nope because I like the build up to it, like not knowing really what's going on, you know. And like it was one of those movies I could watch with the wife. You know, it wasn't really gruesome and stuff, you know.
Personal reasons, right there, man. But
But
no,
yeah, I'm curious to see what he does next. I think it's cool that he's like a newer kind of filmmaker that his movies are interesting, you know.
I mean, the guy's been around a while now. That's the thing. I forget his first chapter of his career was comedy sketches, with Key and Peele. And
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying in this realm,
yeah,
you
no,
know.
I think it's funny that he's one of those dudes where, again, we were seeing like this odd thing happen with certain people that like get their name in comedy and then they're like moving into films that are more horror based, which like Danny McBride, known
Right, right.
comedy and all of the stuff him and Jody Hill are doing on HBO with
It,
from Eastbound and Down to The Righteous Gemstones and Vice Principals. And then now him and David Gordon Green, who worked with them
oh
a
yeah.
lot in their films, they are big. They've made 3 Halloweens, one of which I like, the other
Oh
2.
wow.
And then now they're throwing their hat in The Exorcist. They're doing a
Oh
new
wow.
one out that's coming out in a few months. That looks promising, even though there's CG in it.
I will. Oh, there's a trailer for it.
Like the trailer, yeah,
Oh, I gotta check
it
it out
looks.
because that movie scared me as a kid. I think it scared a lot of people. That was well done. That original.
Yesterday, man, the director, or no, today, it was announced today. William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, passed away. It sucks because I hope he saw the new one before he passed. So
Yeah, he's definitely going to hell, but but no, one movie that is a classic horror movie that I watched the remake, I think it came out in '06 that I thought was pretty good was The Omen.
oh yeah, Omen's great. Yeah, that was
Yeah, with Liev Schreiber, I think was the main guy in it.
Richard Donner. That was one of his early films.
Yeah, I didn't see the other ones, but I thought that was a good concept, like the devil trying to become president and shit.
No, it was. I mean, it was good. It was a good psychological, horror film with, had some blood in it too. But it was the story.
Good psychological horror movie that actually it wasn't really horror, this one, it was more thriller that actually my wife liked too. Invisible Man.
That one. No, it's funny about. You mean the new one, right?
The new one with the chick, yeah.
It had some blood in it too, man. Your wife's
Yeah.
wife's a little suspect with her.
Yeah, she is.
Funny about the Invisible Man, and I because that movie came out right before the pandemic. I remember it.
Right, right.
Remember the thing about that movie? I remember I was watching it with my buddy, one of my good buddies from recovery, and
Mhm.
there was a string of these movies out, and I'm forgetting all the other ones. But what became really popular was these movies about gaslighting a female character, like a female character in the lead who's being heavily gaslit. And I want to
Right.
say they were like patriarchy horror films.
Right.
And I mean, leading the charge was Invisible Man and I'm watching it and it's 2 hours long. It's a long movie. And
Yeah.
time you get to that end, man, you're just like, you better kill that motherfucker. And they do. And the reason why I was telling my friend, this is a movie that I want to say the horror isn't what's going on in the movie. The movie is really depicting what it's like to be a woman in our,
Right.
because there's so many moments and plus we never even get to know the male character, the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about him.
Oh, the end is great though.
We don't get into his character. We don't get into anything about him. It is
Yeah.
solely about Elizabeth, what's her name, playing
Yeah.
lead, and just her journey of not being believed. And even after she proves that he was doing this shit, they still don't believe her ass. Like when
Yeah.
they got him and they don't. They don't. And she's like, they don't, hey, there's something else going on. They're like, hey, you were right about there being a completely invisible man that pulled all this shit. But let's slow down, lady. And she was still right again. So I'm like,
That's exactly why
really,
my wife liked the movie.
because
Yeah.
they're driving it home of what it's like, I feel, to be a woman in this culture where you're just surrounded by people who don't believe you because you're a woman, So,
Yeah, it's funny is I went for like a night walk jog. I'm trying to get in shape, and there was a guy walking with no light. It's pitch black. I have a flashlight on. I think it's weird to be out and about with no kind of light.
mhm.
And it kind of scared me. And in my head, I was like, this guy could kill me, or I didn't think rape because I'm not that hot, but it made me think like, oh shit, this is what chicks go through, but during the day, you know. So yeah, I like movies like that that gets the other gender thinking, and also is done really well,
That's
and
Lee. That's Lee Wanell, who he's mostly. I mean, he's known for a lot by now, but his biggest contribution to film and are the Saw movies. He's
oh okay.
of many, and I believe he directed a few of them, but he's the writer and producer. Him and James Wan are like the guys that were way like behind Saw.
Those movies got really gruesome. Number one was good, but I thought after that they started getting crazy.
He got a new one coming out too.
Oh, you know what one I didn't see? I think it was called something else. The one with Chris Rock as the detective.
I saw that. I
Was
saw
that
that.
good?
It was all right. I mean, it's weird that they tried to do like, because Spiral is from the Saw universe and it's
Right.
inspired. It's even the crime itself is inspired by Saw, and so I was kind of prepped for like how it played out. But they did that movie, and now they're going back to the Saw well. They're doing Saw X or whatever. That one's coming out.
Okay.
Or I thought you already did 10. So I don't know.
Right.
I watched them all. I did a binge where I watched all the Saws during the pandemic. I remember doing that.
Now, does watching that many horror movies fuck with your head at all?
Not at all, dude. I
No.
don't. It's not that it fucks with my head. Well, yeah, it'll fuck with my head with bad writing because they're not all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that they're terrible. It's the only thing is I enjoy what's funny to me was to watch them all in succession and to see, because what they do is they write, every one of them writes up to a certain point and they have their reveals. Now what your next one is building upon the previous one, but the big puzzle for the writers of each one is how do they lay the groundwork for whatever is going to happen in the sequel. So in each subsequent sequel you have character explanations and whatnot, and then you have characters from the past coming back. You have
Okay.
a lot of, because the whole point is they need a reveal that nothing will ever top the reveal of Saw 1. I fucking will say this time and time again, because Saw 1 did such a great job.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
I went on a date with this one chick who claimed she would have blown me in the theater, but I was like, even if you tried, the movie was too good.
Right.
So remember watching the thing.
Nerd alert.
First in a long time where they had a reveal in the movie and you heard an audible gasp in the crowd because it suspected that the dead body on the ground, if it's spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen Saw, go fuck.
Come on. Yeah.
But no one suspects that it's the dead body on the ground.
Right.
You've been watching it the whole time.
Right.
And that body gets up and you're just like, holy fucking shit. Because it was simple. It was just right there in front of your face the whole time.
That's up there with that one movie from the early 90s where the Gimp guy was actually the guy behind everything.
Suspect. That's one of them.
Yeah. But
it was a reveal, but I remember thinking like, I wasn't as into Usual Suspects. Was cool. It was a cool movie, but it was also one of those movies that when it came out, that was a post Tarantino movie. Like there were a lot of movies that were that because the language, the dialogue in it, they're all like, it was a lot of real male like, oh, go fuck yourself, suck my dick, oh, you suck my, a lot of that kind of shit, and that's all people trying to be Tarantino. So I wasn't as interested in Usual Suspects. But Saw was just a good, like, again, simple horror film, puzzles,
Right.
and just trying to be like, how the fuck, what the fuck's gonna happen? And Lee Wanell plays the writer. He's the other guy in that room. Like, so
Oh, okay.
as you know, from
Yeah.
Princess Bride and all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's the one guy. But the other guy that no one knew, that's Lee Wanell, the writer. He's the
Oh,
guy
okay.
who directed Invisible Man. He's done a lot of good movies. Another movie he made that's pretty good is called Unsane. It was kind of a low budget horror film that was not bad.
Yeah, you at the end of this podcast, you have to tell me there's a couple movies I need to check out. But
Not Unsane. Wrong. He didn't make Unsane. Somebody, Steven Soderbergh, I think, made Unsane.
Oh, he's good.
But he made a movie that was like Unsane, and I'm forgetting what it is. But yeah.
Now, I don't know if you like him. This is my kind of style horror that he made a couple good ones. I would say he probably made a lot of B movies. Is Eli Roth?
What are you fucking talking? Eli Roth's great, man.
Yeah.
You gotta preface that shit. I love Eli Roth.
Yeah, that Hostel. I mean, I'll never forget when I saw that. That was a great one.
Green Inferno. I even loved the movies that he made that were he did the remake of whatchamacallit, Death Wish. And I like that, the Bruce Willis Death Wish.
Was that good?
I enjoyed it
because the originals were, I can go on about the originals are great.
Eli took it. I think it did all right, but he got kind of some heat for it. I think it got bad reviews, and I was like, dude, Bruce Willis was the perfect guy to put in a Charles Bronson role originally. And what he did was, there's another movie called Death Sentence. Actually,
with Kevin Bacon, yeah.
And that was directed by James Wan
okay.
James Wan, and Death Sentence is more closer to the original source material. This was a book first.
Oh, okay.
It's close to the original source material that Death Wish was based on. And then Eli Roth went, and I think he made his own Death Wish, like it was Eli Roth's Death Wish kind of thing. And but there's moments in it that are pure Eli Roth. It's not a horror movie, but there's some horrific moments in it that I'm like, Roth
you can't, I hate to say it, but it kind of needed to be in it, is that rape scene in the original Death Wish. I mean, you want to kill him.
The right now is there's a lot of that where it's not that it needed to be in it as much. It was a different toned movie. Like Death Wish was a hard-boiled movie from a different time that people were comfortable with despicable acts being portrayed in cinema.
Oh yeah, you can't really show that now, but it gets you so upset. I mean, what would you would do some shit like that if someone had, you know what I mean?
That's part of the that's part of the motivation.
Right.
The thing about today is that if you're going to portray certain acts in the movie, you need to have a level of clout that because you want to know what's funny? It ain't the censors, it ain't the MPAA, it's the audiences today that will judge firsthand, judge your movie on social media and all that shit. If there is, and I get, and understandably so. I don't think there's any movie that I watch that has a heavy. I don't watch movies that frivolously throw rape in there that it doesn't have like a purpose in the
right.
However, the way that people are today, literally people behave as though movies are real events, and that if you need to have people who actually are the characters in the movie, they need to have all the same attributes as them. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. I like play acting. I like seeing what you do on screen. I get the racial fucking shit where that makes a little more sense, and definitely disabled. I think that they do need to do more to get disabled actors.
But they got rid of some disabled parts with the new Snow White. It's not gonna be 7 dwarves anymore.
That's what I heard. I don't know. Something. I would rather hear from somebody who's part of the little people.
Right. I'm just saying they took away some jobs from little people. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what? Who knows how they would have done it? Because you know what they're doing with this new fucking Willy Wonka. They didn't put any little people. They got fucking Hugh Grant playing a fucking Oompa Loompa. He's
No way.
out of his face digitally on an Oompa Loompa. So I'm like, so the shit that they do now, it's like it's not about, they want to make it about sound like, oh, they're taking away the dwarves or whatever, and it's like they probably would have anyway. I mean, because as far as the work that would be given to a little person playing that role, who knows? And again, I don't have as far as my opinion, I'm not that.
We're in the
So I don't give a fuck.
right. We're in the comedy world though. We see the sensitivity, and I mean it's great with social media and everything that people have a voice, but it's a two-edged sword that like we know, like it just kind of sucked that people have so many opinions and movie
No,
makers can just make movies though.
about sensitivity right here though. What this is about is corporations wanting to maximize their dollars in
Yeah.
what they want people in the seats. So what they're hedging their bet. Okay, so the uproar that people want to think they have over, oh, they took out the dwarf. First off, nobody's watching fucking Snow White these days that heavily. Be like, man, them fucking dwarves, man, they make the fucking Snow White pop. Like, no one's watching Snow White, the old cartoon, that heavily these days. The only people who might be that connected to the Snow White cartoon, the last of them are our generation. And
Right.
watching Snow White, no, I don't give a fuck about Dumpy, Grumpy, whatever the fuck.
Right.
However, what they're doing, all Disney is, it's funny. I did a comedy show and this guy was in the front. He was this heavily tattooed, looking like a bouncer motherfucker, right? And he's loving my act, which I'm shocked by. This was in Santa Cruz at the Crow's Nest. And he's there with this girl. And I lead into what was going to be my Beauty and the Beast joke. And I did like kind of something a little different where I brought up Disney. And I said, what, do we have a Disney crowd here? Huh? We got Disney heads? And I'm looking and he is shaking his head left and right, like, just like, no, dude. I'm like, oh, right on. Somebody who hates Disney in the front right here with this girl. Like, you got a girl that looks like she loves going to Disneyland. Like, why do you hate Disney? And the funniest answer came out. He says, they groom kids, bro. Like, so he's one of these fucking dudes that's like kind of falling for the QAnon line of logic that like, Disney's been grooming kids for what? Because this is exactly what I don't remember exactly my response. I went on with the bit. I didn't pay attention. The only grooming Disney's doing, they're a mass market corporation. Disney is grooming your kids to want to spend more fucking money on Disney as they get older. They want you to buy
Oh
their.
yeah. That's a guy. Hey, that's a guy.
That's all they're grooming you for. They're not grooming you for anything.
Right.
Other than to spend your fucking money like every other fucking corporation, your Targets, your all these, and all movies are, okay, all these fucking movies today, because blockbusters have made studios way too greedy. And it's a good thing that some of these movies, I've been kind of enjoying it because I love going to the movies. I love a blockbuster that's good. But when I see a blockbuster that like people were banking on, like The Flash that just came out, they were banking on that movie, man, and it did not do well. And it's still a good movie, but the audiences were trying to.
I loved it, and it was my son's, like, it's one of his favorite movies now.
Great time, man. And the fact that people were still trying to like shit on it, it was boggling to me. And then there was other movies that they were expecting to be hits that weren't hits, and I'm like, you want to know why? Because you're spending way too much fucking money overloading the every fucking year, and every month you've got these attempted blockbusters. Right. You're not spending money on the smaller stories like you used to, because for every one of those movies you could have probably spent 10 million, 20 million, 40 million on a smaller story with a reasonable budget, reasonable cast, and probably made 10 times that much, depending on what your return was, and just it being a good movie, just a good story. That's what Kevin Smith made his fucking bones on those types of movies. And the fact that they want everything to be a goddamn blockbuster. Everybody's wanting to win the trifecta every fucking time with a goddamn movie, and so they hedge their bets by wanting to not offend anybody. That's their whole thing. They're trying. All this shit is with the, everybody's trying to make it seem like it's about wokeness and all. It's like, it ain't about wokeness. It ain't about any fucking political correctness. It's about getting the most money out of the market that's out there. And Disney, being that they want to seem like they're progressive, they ain't progressive. They're a fucking mass worldwide trillion-dollar corporation. They have no fucking soul. They just want more money, and there's more money in variety of ethnicities in the movie, in a variety of from gender to everything else. They want the more that there is diversity in the film, more people will want to see it throughout the world, not just in America.
Well, and you could say that about everything, I guess, is
But I'm only pointing out, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's their thinking. That's all their thinking is they just, and then it comes to stories. Yeah, if like, oh, you're gonna throw rape in there. Can't we just do like a something crime? Because rape really is gonna turn off half of our audience. That's what they're
right.
they're making stories too much in the boardrooms, hedging their bets about who will come to see the movie rather than telling an effective, good story. You have less and less of filmmakers like Tarantino, who and Martin Scorsese and other filmmakers where the value of their vision. Even Scorsese still has a hard time making a movie. That dude has made quality films. All of his bombs are better than some of the blockbusters that are out there. But at the same time, they don't care about that shit. They care about their bottom line. And there are some people that do care about artistry in film and doing that. But vast majority of these studios and everything else, they only spend money to make money. And they think the more money they spend, the more chance that they can make a bigger return. And most of that logic is wrong. That's been old Hollywood thinking forever.
So where do you see it going in the future? Do you see it keep growing?
I think it'll be the same thing that happened in the 70s, in the 60s to the 70s. I think we're experiencing, like, kind of right now, something similar to the 60s, where blockbuster money if you look at cinema, it's one of the most, it's one of the most obvious things that's kind of happening, where in the 50s and 60s, studios were getting more confused because everything that was their formulas were not returning as well from their grandiose movies to their film noirs and all these the westerns. A lot of their straightforward storytelling wasn't working. There was only one guy who was kind of doing well, and that was Alfred Hitchcock. It was like Tarantino before Tarantino. But when it came to the 70s, what happened was late 60s, I should say. There were movies such as Easy Rider and all of the filmmakers that became part of that wave, from your Francis Ford Coppola, your Martin Scorsese's, your Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and then other like Joe Dante and other filmmakers who really became bigger in the 70s and 80s. A lot of them, the guy who thrived was Roger Corman. Roger Corman was a producer and a filmmaker, but he was making all of those low budget. He specialized in grindhouse movies, but a variety of movies with low budgets that were all about making their money. It was New World Pictures was his. I think it's New World Pictures. Well, that was one of them. There was another one. I'm forgetting the name of his older company, but so he invests in a lot of people's early talent. He would get people that he knew could do some shit, but on a low budget, who had no resume, get them working in there. And those motherfuckers, James Cameron, guy, like, I believe he directed Piranha 2. He directed the sequel to Piranha, which Joe Dante directed. You got people that were getting their education in film working for Roger Corman with low budgets, making effective stories that made a profit. That's all Corman gave a fuck about, was a profit. And it didn't have to be much, but it just had to make a profit. And kept doing that. And he taught so many people, or had people learning how to make movies. It was basically like everybody coming in and making Clerks, but not story-wise, but they're making low budget movies left and right, and so and then the movies that then became successful in the 70s were these low budget hits, such as Easy Rider, such as Mean Streets, and there's a lot of movies in the 70s. And then the birth of the blockbuster came from those very same directors then having massive hits with The Godfather, with The Exorcist, and Jaws. Those were the three, and then Star Wars after that. So those were like the four movies that gave birth to the blockbuster.
So you got me excited that we might get some really great indie movies. Is there any movies you recommend that people aren't really talking about that are indie?
Not today. I don't know. I mean, there's been some movies. The thing is, it's not so much that I see like indie movies. What I see is the studios, because the studios killed people's ability to make. You can always make a low budget movie. It's about having a forum to get it seen. And so what I'm excited about that can happen, and I think will happen again, is just studios reminding themselves that they don't have to spend so much money on, like, they need to kind of like be a little bit more, I want to say, like, kind of like how we're trying to be earth conscious. They need to be movie conscious, that not everything has to be a fucking blockbuster, because it's all the power. They're the ones, signing off, spending money or whatever. You can, if you look at how things have played out, I think the future can be an even balance of just quality filmmaking with low budgets and larger budgets. And because there are people, who made fucking movies on low budgets forever that people loved, even though he's constantly being like, there's all new kinds of creepy shit about him every other fucking week. But Woody Allen, that's a dude that was a guy who constantly made low budget movies that everybody would go to see and seemed to profit even his worst ones. It's just having people that can, like, right now, the fact that Greta Gerwig, who made Lady Bird, there's a low budget movie, and she made Lady Bird, and now she's the first woman to have a film that's, granted, it's backed by a huge intellectual property, Barbie being one of the biggest intellectual properties, right there with Transformers and G.I. Joe and all that shit, but it never had a movie. And here they made this movie that was a combination of both joy for the product and criticism of the product in one. And they did a great job. They made a very entertaining film that, like, took all of that and put it all in the movie and made it Barbie and true to the nature of what its pluses and its minuses are, and made it very entertaining. I saw it. Man.
I thought it was funny that it was like the one movie that nerds didn't dress up for, but like hot women.
And it's a lot, but it embraced. There's a lot of people that are into Barbie that are part of the LGBTQ plus. Like, there's a lot in that movie that I think that's why some of the anti-woke element was all trying to come out again. I'm like, good luck with that shit, man. It's a fun movie, and that's part of what I think is highly misunderstood about what people's agendas are. I'm like, no one's interested in your trash ass kids, motherfucker. The only people that really, what's funny is a lot of that talk is the most toxic to their very own kids, more so because
it's teaching hate and all that.
You have kids that might even that are gay, that are trans, that are learning about the bigotry of their own parents, and then either have to act along to go along with it and further suppress their shit and find their community and their voice later. Bigotry has always has a ridiculous, stupid cycle. Anyways, but my point being with Barbie is that it's bought Greta Gerwig a lot of leeway now in her filmmaking. She's still gonna have trouble making films because that's what filmmaking always is. But because meanwhile, there's the guy who made Babylon, which I fucking love. If you didn't go see Babylon, you're missing out, man. Got to see fucking nude. You got to see Barbie naked, man. She's in it naked. Fucking A, man. Who didn't want to go see Margot Robbie flash a boob, man.
I mean, she was great in Wolf of Wall Street.
But also, and she's great in that movie though, and the characters in that movie, and that was about cinema and the death of a lot of elements in our cinema and where it's going today, but through this great grandiose movie. It was a lot of fun. I was not surprised a lot of people didn't go see it, but I still enjoyed it myself.
Didn't it come out during the pandemic?
No, Babylon was last year, man. Babylon was out
Wow.
here and was not doing well. So it was one of those movies that was like kind of hyped because I forget the director's like a guy, he's a foreign dude, but his other movies were like, this was like his big, he made Whiplash. That's his movie that,
Oh, I love that movie.
yeah, really we're hyped on.
So the question I wanted to end on is, when do we see Mean Dave in a movie?
I've been in a movie, motherfucker. I've been in two. Yeah, they're not hits. Good in them, but they're not, I would, it'd be nice to be in like a mainstream movie. So yeah, I can fucking, tout a credit and get some butts.
Have you thought about doing like headshots and trying to get auditions?
Trust me, man. The thing about it, like, I actually wanted to make movies for a good period there before I even got into comedy. I made a short film, Dave versus the Chairs. It's on my YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube/@meandave, and you can find it in the list of I have a lot of my podcast episodes of In the Meantime, and my current podcast is Meaningful Times with Friends, and that seems to be doing pretty good in comparison to the rest of my channel. But in there somewhere is my very first short film called Dave versus the Chairs, and it's a fun little homage to spaghetti westerns of me just versus some folding chairs, which is very relevant today considering this Alabama fucking or whatever the fucking shit that went down in over this boat, the riverboat brawl, and a dude with a folding chair got involved and started smacking some people around. It's really funny, man. There's some funny shit. I should share it and say like, hey man, these guys talking about chairs, I was there first. But
I didn't know what happened, but then I saw like a million people talking about it. I was like, oh, something happened.
Funny. It's funny. It's stupid. I mean, it's terrible, really, but it was some little meted out justice. It was where some things went right for some people once when people were behaving badly. But so I made a movie, and then the two movies that I'm in that are like full length. Well, one's a full length movie. The other one's kind of almost a full length movie, but I'm in a movie called Live or Die in La Honda, which was this guy, forgetting his last name, Jeff. I'm still Facebook friends with him, but it's this one dude that I met through a comedian, Jimmy Gunn, and who referred me for it. And I play an alcoholic who's based on a real character in the town of La Honda. His name's Lucas, who I am also Facebook friends with. And didn't meet the guy, just played him based on the description, and apparently I nailed the role of Lucas. And it's a cool movie. It's a little too heavy on the leads. I want to say there's a lot that I like in it, and there's some stuff that I saw how it was being made, and I'm like, these leads are they're kind of taking a little advantage of the director, and they kind of what I learned watching that movie, if I ever made a movie with any actors with experience or whatever, is you need to have a true vision from soup to nuts that you're collaborating with others on, but you need to have a final vision that, like, you kind of got to play your people a little bit, and you got to go on their experience, but there's only so much that their experience can help you and you have to have the singular vision to know what you want out of these people, so that they know that they're players in your hands. What I saw were two actors who were kind of I want to say they were really exercising a lot of their experience over the I wouldn't call it bullying, because there was no bullying, but they were definitely kind of leading the director on to think that this is how things are done, and and I was like, nah, I don't think so. I think, but what I realized is the director, he was still figuring out what his movie was, and his process wasn't as strong as it needs to be if you're going to make a full length film. But it helped him, and he works in professional capacity in what he does. It's not mainstream, work by any means, but he's a really cool dude. I liked working with him, and I like working with the other actors that I did. But
Except those two.
about doing this was there was one scene in the movie where where the two leads, they first encounter each other in the movie, and I'm there at the bar. These scenes, a lot of scenes take place at this historic bar in La Honda called Applejack's, and you can still go to it. It's still open today out there. And I'm there at the bar where I walk in. I think I walk in and I'm not wasted yet. And I order some drinks from the bartender. I'm getting like shots or whatever the fuck. And then the other lead comes in, and they have a history, and they haven't seen each other in years. And so they like lock eyes and have a movie moment. And as they're having their moment, that's when I'm like, like, I still ordered a drink, motherfucker. So I'm the comic relief in this moment, kind of interrupting their movie moment. Yeah. And in the course of shooting this, I have like a few lines. Not all of them were used, but I have some lines in it. We had to be out by noon when we were shooting that scene, right? And they had a hard schedule that they had to stick to because it's low budget. They couldn't go over because the bar had to be open by noon. We had to be done by noon at the bar. And so I could already tell as we were working out these scenes and how long they were taking to get lit and everything else. I'm like, we're taking way too fucking long. And they still had to shoot my close-ups. And I was like, they might have to move my close-ups to another fucking day because we're getting close to the wire. And so we're shooting their coverage, the two main leads. I'm acting with them in the scene. So we're doing the scene like as a whole. And then we have like, I want to say like 30 minutes left, maybe 25, like, less than 30 minutes. And they need to set up to close up on my face. And that's going to take some time and get those lines. And as they're setting up, as they're doing it, the two main actors were arguing with the director about how we need to go through that scene completely as I do my lines with my close-up. And they're arguing for it because they're arguing from an actor's perspective, saying like, he's a person in a scene, and we need to do the whole scene so that he has something. They were doing their best. What they were doing is they were fighting for me as an actor to have my call and response, everything to act and emote to in the scene, just as I did for them. What they didn't understand is that I'm a comedian, man. I'm a cheap fucking whore, okay? And not only that, I've made some short films, not just the one I did, but I've worked on some and I've made some others. I knew what the director needed. And I was like, he just needs 3 close-ups of me saying 3 different fucking lines. And I've interacted enough with these characters. I don't need them to just spit out the lines with a few different ways, a few different takes for him to choose from. And also I'm the comic relief. I'm not a good actor. All right. So I end up having to interrupt their argument and be like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. I know he needs to hurry up, and I think I know what he needs. But again, I want to thank you guys for arguing for me with the scene. And they both were like, oh, okay, dude, if you think you can do this. Or like, they both were just giving me that cautionary, like, all right, we tried. Okay. So then they set it up, and they do 3 takes of 3 lines with my close up. And I give them 3 takes of exactly what of these lines, the way I said them, and give them some choices emotion wise. And after I was done, these 2 actors, both the director was like, dude, thank you so much for doing that. Fucking love you, dude. It was exactly what he needed. And the 2 actors were all wide-eyed, like, oh my God, how did you do that? Do you know how difficult that was, what you just did? I'm like, what? Fucking played make-believe? Right. It wasn't that hard. And it wasn't like, for someone who doesn't get it, I could see how that'd be hard. That would be hard. My character's not that deep. My motivation is just to get there and drink alcohol. And now my personal motivation is just to get the scene done. So it was very easy to just make believe that where I was in the scene, I'm such a small piece. And that kind of shit right there was what went on through the whole production. So that's what dominates the movie. Are these? It's basically way too much two leads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Live or Die and La Honda. Just fast forward through all the shit and get to my scenes. I'm good in it.
And people can watch that online.
I think it's on Tubi right now. You can look it up. It's on one of the streaming services that's available. And then the other movie I'm in is called I Can't Sleep, and I think that's available on online as well, streaming. And that was made by a good friend, Gina Davis. She's a friend of Nina G's, aspiring filmmaker, and won some awards at some festivals. It's a cool little movie. It's a very intimate drama between a cop and a young woman that has meanwhile there's an extraterrestrial, like aliens are landing, and
that's cool.
Where I'm talking to the news. So
okay, cool. Hey, well, I appreciate you being on the podcast, and I got to see some more movies. What were some of the movies you recommended just for me and the audience?
Wait, watch your own episode and see.
I might have to go back. I hate listening to myself. Yeah. Well, we're going to go back.
Go back. You got to learn how to edit, motherfucker. I saw you put all 2 fucking hours of our last conversation. Like, yeah, get some iMovie and edit this motherfucker.
All right. I'll get to work. All right, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, great talking to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. That's the podcast. What do you think? Pretty fun? All those movies, I guarantee they're great. Dave knows his movies. Apparently, I thought I knew about movies, but wow. That guy is a movie buff if I've met one. And he had the buff arms out. The definition of a movie buff. Guy, that's been the podcast, and you already know this podcast is brought to you by Silver Tongue Audio. Go to silvertongueaudio.org and you will see my podcast there, right there, Midnight in the Bay. I had to turn the light off, I'm getting a little hot. And free downloads right there. I mean, this podcast is there to help people get through their day with free content. You can check out mine, all the episodes, right there at your fingertips. And then you check out Dazed and Disturbed. It's a fun podcast. This guy hangs out with Mary Jane, and he shines light on dark subjects with a little humor, a little intelligence. I love it. Check it out. And then check out NPC Podcast. It's my favorite video game podcast. They are in the industry. All they do is video games. These guys and lady know what they're talking about. It's fun. It's entertaining. There's humor. There's great banter. Go check it out. All at silvertongueaudio.org. Go there. That's been the podcast. Follow me on Instagram _AlexWoodyComedy. If you want to see me live, I've been putting up my schedule there. I'm going to be at Cobb's Comedy Club August 8th, which is tomorrow, 8 p.m. in San Francisco. Come check me out. Love ya.